Welcome to the pro wrestling reality. Fans of this most recent incarnation of that long-time entertainment industry are sure to be familiar with straight-edge entertainment superstar CM Punk, real name Phil Brooks. In a time where that major million-dollar sports entertainment company was looking at making major changes and ready to go in a new direction, Phil certainly was a superstar who was ready to prove himself in the world of entertainment. I distinctly remember in a television interview, Brooks spoke openly about his alternative lifestyle. "So, you're Mr. Straight Edge?" Brooks then responded by saying, "Yes, I am straight edge." Then, the aging, out of touch television news interviewer then responds by asking Brooks, "What the hell does that mean?" Showing that for certain individuals, Phil's alternative lifestyle that he spoke about openly was a concept that was only just coming into vogue. With a positive, true-to-life character and equipped in his early years with the blazing vitality, Brooks seemed to be on track to reach major success within that New York-based entertainment company. Fans seemed to get behind Brooks right from the start. Although, me personally, I have only seen his work rate essentially as only passable. I mean, he did, at that time, have a very progressive look, could at times cut a very passionate promo. But when it came to other entertainment industry supermen, such as John Cena or Triple H Paul Levesque, Brooks was just not at that level. As fans started to get hotter for Brooks, he started believing his own hype, and he quickly became very hot for that entertainment industry legitimacy that various other performers were getting at this time. I mean, where really was he on the cards, between 2009 to 2011, when entertainment superstars like Hardcore Holly or John Morrison were just hitting their peaks? As Punk's career progressed, he started to get angrier regarding his spot in the company, grew more entitled, and started having distorted ideals regarding his place on the various high-profile main event cards at that time. Brooks also started having heat with long-time company creative mind Triple H Paul Levesque, which led to Brooks having monumental heat with one of the biggest behind-the-scenes names within that major company. Paul, at this time, had undeniable power when it came to booking major worldwide events. And although the fans were getting behind Brooks, Levesque just did not see Brooks as a major, high-profile main event star. Levesque had left his blood on that entertainment stage and had broken new ground for this industry, dating all the way back to 1997. And in these later years now, while Brooks was having his company run, Paul was the one who had major say in the storylines as well as the match outcomes. And essentially, this power that Paul held had Brooks hot, as the two had never seen eye to eye. Stars like John Cena, Randy Orton, were drawing huge quarter hours, selling out live events all over the world. And although a small portion of the audience were getting behind Brooks, he just essentially could not break that same glass ceiling that other entertainment stars were at this time. Most of his programs were with other well-established industry superstars, such as Chris Jericho or Mark the Undertaker Calloway, who would carry Brooks throughout his various feuds and in-ring performances. And personally, I just never seen Brooks at the same level as some of those other monumental, high-profile industry names. Although Brooks would go on to hold that company's major title, the numbers reflected his below-passable connection to the fans, as even when he was able to capture that world title, it was one of the lowest points in the history of that New York-based company. The behind-the-scenes issues with Brooks would continue, as when Brooks was offered a high-profile match on a WrestleMania card with Mark the Undertaker Calloway now, he would then be often seen walking up and down the halls of the backstage area at various nationwide live events, angry over the fact he was not featured in the main event. This, no doubt, had many higher-up officials in the back very hot, as a high-profile match with Calloway truly is an emotional, monumental career moment for most performers. Although Brooks essentially would spit in the face of both that major entertainment character and the company itself by openly expressing his disappointment with his spot on the card to anyone who would listen. In 2014, CM Punk was fired from that major entertainment company in a move by the company that many fans thought at the time was long overdue, as Phil's constant complaining and subpar in-ring performances were becoming an issue in the eyes of company officials. And it was time to make that difficult decision to let Brooks go from that New York-based company. Brooks has often spoke about his release from the company, and oftentimes he was incredibly hot regarding how the situation was handled. Brooks would then go on various industry insider and local AM shock jock radio programs to discuss his seething views on the situation, believing he was intentionally fired on his wedding day, stating that the decision to have him fired on that monumental life moment was intentional, calculated on the part of company officials. Not too soon later, once Brooks finished his employment with that major New York company, Brooks then wanted to gain that legitimacy elsewhere. To get that monumental sports legitimacy, Brooks would then step into the ring of that international mixed martial arts promotion. After a few highly embarrassing pay-per-view bouts with other worldwide mixed martial arts names, Brooks would show that his dream of competing in mixed martial arts was just another distorted pipe dream, in which Brooks thought his entertainment industry skills would transfer over into legitimate sports competition. Sadly, it did not work out that way for Brooks, who was, over the course of only a few short bouts, widely humiliated on worldwide pay-per-view. Many would agree that he just did not have the skill set required to thrive in that legitimate mixed martial arts promotion. Even fans have said that while training for his major profile WrestleMania main event program with Mark the Undertaker Calloway, that even long-time high-risk entertainment superstar Shane McMahon looked to have more of a grasp of the concept of mixed martial arts fighting than Brooks ever could, as he was shown going through various martial arts exercises and drills during the lead up to that monumental yearly event. After suffering multiple losses on worldwide pay-per-view, Brooks would then take a long sports entertainment career absence. The years started to pass Brooks by as the strong, youthful vitality that he may have once had was suddenly starting to fade. He then would shock the world by making a return to that major sports entertainment industry by joining a hot, up-and-coming, Florida-based promotion. Brooks would have a major debut under that nationwide all-elite wrestling company, which from my understanding is a hot, youthful Florida upstart. The debut would end up drawing monumental numbers for that modern era Florida upstart, with the debut of Brooks, cutting passionate in-ring promos, where Brooks would share his passion for this industry with the live audience. He would talk about the young dudes now coming up in this industry, finally being able to get their chance of being featured on the weekly cards, and would set his sights on having monumental performances alongside young and upcoming talent who were often featured on that weekly programming. Brooks would start his run making fan-friendly, pandering comments on live TV, such as "Send Hook." Next thing you know, after talking about the young talent, Brooks would score a scripted upset victory over current AEW megastar Darby Allin. Shockingly, Brooks would soon end up capturing that Florida-based company's world title, which for most fans should have been a troubling sign that Brooks was not in the company to promote the young stars, but was wanting a high-profile main event spot. And in my opinion, was also wanting that industry legitimacy. Once again, from that same industry that he turned his back on years prior. He was lusting for that billboard box office spotlight. And as weeks passed, Brooks would make passionate speech after passionate speech to the audience. And not soon after that major numbers drawing debut, Brooks' act was suddenly growing tired, as fans were starting to moan and groan whenever they would see another CM Punk Speaks segment announced on another weekly event. It was clear that this was not the same performer who attempted to break such monumental new industry ground up north while working under that New York-based entertainment company. Both the age, along with the various injuries over the years, seemingly caught up to Brooks as he appeared more tired during promos. He was also much slower in the ring, and that once sharp vitality and speaking ability seemed to diminish quite substantially, as that often happens when performers start to reach those later years of the career. Recently, things became much more frightening, much more concerning, as at a press event held by that Florida upstart, Brooks, after a performance earlier in the evening, went on an unhinged rant. Brooks said that he was old, tired, and then proceeded to give harsh criticism regarding the young talent coming up in the ranks of that Florida upstart. He then started to bring up heat with entertainment superstar Colt Cabana, who has performed in various promotions over the years. And he was also at one time close friends with Brooks. Brooks cut in on Cabana hard, openly referencing their heated legal exchange, pointing out the fact that he never had that major success that Brooks feels he once had. He also, good Lord, if I understand this information correctly now, Brooks pointed out Cabana's distressing current financial situation. Brooks spoke about how during the legal proceedings, Cabana was pleading over the email message, asking if the two could just put all of this history behind them, after Brooks had discovered that Cabana was sharing his bank account with his own frail, ailing mother, which at that age, could possibly be a very sweltering situation, under the roof of the mother, hearing that sharp howl at the top of the basement stairwell, being asked about questionable purchases, withdrawal history, and other various personal bank-related issues. In my opinion, this must have had Cabana hot, having his personal home and financial situation put into the public spotlight by Brooks. After Brooks had finished with his bizarre tirade, he then reportedly went backstage and into the designated dressing room area. While other talent were having a chance to speak during the press conference, suddenly a major situation erupted in the backstage area. A situation in which I personally feel tested Phil's youth. As told by various inside sources, trending youth tag team act, the Young Buck Brothers, stormed into Phil's private locker room area. And they were hot after taking offense to some of the comments that Brooks made on the air that seemed to reflect on the brothers poorly, as well as other various young talent getting their first taste of this industry by being featured during an event hosted by that major television-based Florida upstart. First off, after hearing that the Buck brothers now were the ones who went to Phil's locker room and kicked the door in, really is bothersome to me, personally, as the Buck brothers are a faith-based act. Seemingly, love thy neighbor seemed to quickly go out the window. Turn the other cheek seemed to be an afterthought here. I sadly think the Buck brothers are going to lose a lot of ground after this altercation, especially with audience members of that particular worldwide following. I can picture it now, almost in slow motion. The Buck brothers, seething, simmering, sweating, hot, walking side by side up to Phil's door in the back, giving each other a quick nod, then performing a heavy kick, sending the door flying open. Then, you see Phil walking out of the shower, steam billowing, with, sort of the towel hanging, and then suddenly Brooks is in that age-old spot of the aged lion now being challenged. The situation did not end well for Brooks, who faced rather heavy consequences for his actions related to this very volatile altercation between Brooks and various others from that Florida upstart. I think we can all understand this situation, as it sort of is something along the lines of you're once strong, playful, full of life, aging, joy-filled uncle now, losing that once strong vitality, or another family member perhaps losing their faculties, appearing more confused, angry, and resentful, often choosing to lounge on the sofa or, in the armchair with the beer can dangling from the shaking hand. Then now, coming to terms with a new generation, with your own mortality as well. Perhaps that mortality of the father, mother, or grandparents, now unable to move around as naturally as once before. And as it is hard to hear that sentence from an ailing family member, eventually we will hear it when our own ailing parents, grandparents, or other various loved ones say to us, "My health and mind is failing."